listening to the Up and Under podcast, starting in 3, 2, 1.
Which brings us finally to the All-NBA teams. Now, these are obviously highlighting the 15 best players in the NBA this season. And once again, there was some debate. Then there's going to be some surprises, obviously, in terms of where we put people. Obviously, COVID and injuries really kind of impacted some of our decisions. But, you know, it's definitely an interesting year this year. But we're going to start off with the All-NBA first team this year. Again, similar to the All-Defensive teams, it's 2 guards, 2 forwards in the center. That's how we formatted it this year. That's how it's being formatted, and that's how our predictions are going to be given to you guys. So obviously, the first guard spot, I mean, there's no question about this one. It's going to go to Steph Curry of the Golden State Warriors. I mean, he led the NBA in scoring this year. He won the scoring title this year. Carried this G League-esque Golden State Warriors team. Almost made it to the playoffs. There's not much more you can say. I mean, he's one of the best guards, and not the best guard in some people's minds. In the league right now. And, you know, rightfully so. He's just impossible to guard. Like, it's so hard to defend Steph Curry. And the way that he really, you know, he went on that stretch that he was just unstoppable. It was just so hard to stop Steph Curry and slow him down. So there's no question that he definitely deserves to be on the all.
It's crazy to me how older players say that they would lock up Steph Curry. You know, maybe if you can hand check him. But here's the thing, right? A guy like, for example, I'll give you a name. For my hoop heads out there. Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf. This guy was playing with hand checking. This guy was what? 6'1", 6'2". This guy's playing with hand checking, and this guy was doing what Steph Curry is doing right now. Obviously on a much smaller scale. But for him to do the things that he was doing, there should be no doubt in anybody's mind that Steph Curry would dominate in any era that he was put into. Obviously, if there's no 3-point line, then, you know, it's kind of, his impact does get decreased. But there's no denying that he would absolutely dominate in any era that he was put into. And because of the fact that he's just unstoppable. Obviously, we all know he's the greatest shooter of all time. But the thing I like to repeat over and over again is that he's the greatest off-ball mover I've ever watched in my life. And I think this is a lesson for a lot of players who are, you know, just regular players out there. Don't underrate how important off-ball movement is. This guy gets 80% of his points because of the fact that he is the best off-ball mover I've ever watched. He does so much off the ball. You know, he runs around streets. He's running around the perimeter. He never stops moving, and that's why you look at his game highlights. You're saying, you know, this is the best shooter in NBA history. How's he always getting this open? Because of the fact that he moves. He doesn't stop moving. Yeah. And so Steph Curry, like, again, not much we can say about him that hasn't already been said. But, you know, Steph Curry definitely deserves a spot on the All-NBA first team, especially with the MVP-worthy campaign that he put up. Yeah. The next guard that we're going to put on the All-NBA first team is Luca Doncic, you know, the one boy himself. Averaging 27.7 points a game, 8 rebounds, and 8.6 assists. Shooting around 48% from the field and 35% from the 3-point line. Now, Luca Doncic, you're seeing it especially in the playoffs, obviously, you know, minus his injury. Luca Doncic is, I think, in a lot of our estimations, the next face of the NBA. And for good reason. He can do it all on the court. His impact is just immeasurable. He leads you to winning, even coming in at, you know, the age of 19, have the impact that he did. Think about it this way, especially for a lot of people that didn't think he would be good in the NBA, which I think was, you know, a horribly bad take. He dominated the second best basketball league in the world at the age of 18, winning the MVP and winning the championship. Yeah, exactly. He started at 17, he won the MVP at 18, dominating the second best league in the world. You really think he wouldn't be good in the NBA? Like, come on.
And that's a men's league. That's not a kids league. That's not a college league.
Exactly.
This is a men's league. And you know what? I've been on the Luca hype train since day one. I ain't hopping off this shit, man. I've been driving this shit because, again, what can you say? He's the next face of the league. And you're seeing it even now in the postseason. What he's been able to do is incredible. Luca Doncic, hands down, all NBA first team. Which brings us into the first forward spot that we want to talk about. And we're going to give it to Giannis Antetokounmpo. Obviously, Giannis being a two-time league MVP winner, Defensive Player of the Year winner. He's had the accolades as well. But again, this season, he's still doing it. He's still producing 28 points a game, 11 rebounds, almost 6 assists. per game. Although he doesn't have the 3-point shot, he's still not afraid to take it, which I respect. But again, he's just doing what he always does, man. He's just been a fantastic player. And the other thing with Giannis is he doesn't miss a lot of games. Like, he really doesn't. Like, this season, I think he just rested more games than anything. But again, in an already shortened season, he only missed, 12 games? It's pretty good.
Yeah, man, Giannis, I think the biggest thing for him is that, you can talk about his deficiencies all you want. But the thing about Giannis is that he does so much for you on the court that overshadows his deficiencies. You don't get 2 MVPs for no reason. You don't become an MVP and DPOY player in the same season for no reason. He is the Greek freak, right? Like, he can do it all on the court, obviously minus the jumper. And the thing I think a lot of people love about Giannis the most is the fact, his intensity, his effort, his energy. It's always there at 100%. He's not taking games off. He doesn't take possessions off. He's always at full throttle. I think that's one of the things you have to respect the most about Giannis. Not even including his whole backstory and whatnot, which is obviously very inspiring in its own right. But Giannis has been great and should definitely warrant a All-NBA first team nod this year. The next forward we're going to have on the All-NBA first team is Kawhi Leonard. Now, Kawhi Leonard is arguably, I think, putting up his second best season of his career, averaging 24.8 points a game, 6.5 rebounds, shooting 51.2% from the field and 39.8% from three. He's also averaging 1.6 steals a game. Now, Kawhi Leonard obviously isn't the same defender that he once was, but he's still a very good defender. Offensively, he's one of the best players in the league. He can score at all 3 levels. His ability to take over a game is second to none. His efficiency, I think, is what is the best asset about him. The fact that he doesn't take bad shots, he takes very smart shots, he doesn't miss shots. So, he's not putting up shots all over the court where he's scoring at an inefficient clip, getting 30 points a game inefficiently. He's scoring within the offense. He's scoring even in isolations, but it's very, very efficient shots. And his steadiness on both ends of the court, I think, is what drives him to be great, on both sides of the court again. But yeah, Kawhi Leonard has been absolutely fantastic for the LA Clippers this year, and definitely warrants an All-NBA first team.
Yeah, I think for sure. I mean, you talked about the stability. That was the big thing that Kawhi brought. It's the big thing that I think I missed the most when Kawhi was with the Raptors, obviously. Just that stabilizing presence, man. He just brings that, man. Like, he's the guy who will get you a bucket and get you a stop whenever he wants. He'll do it. And he's very efficient in doing it too. Like, he also gets the line a ton, which he gets the absorbs contact, he gets the free throw line. He does it all, man. He can score on all 3 levels, man. Kawhi's great, man. And I think he does it. I don't think he's ever going to win an MVP award, but he's going to be one of those guys that probably should have won a couple.
I don't know about that load management.
Oh, the load management thing wasn't there, but I think in terms of overall his game, it's very complete. But which brings us to the center spot for the All-NBA first team. And if you guys watched our awards episode, definitely check it out if you haven't done so. You'll know who our MVP pick is, Nicole Yokocho this season. And so he's going to be the center for the All-NBA first team. Hands down, Nicole Yokocho has been the best center this season. One of the best players this season. 26 points a game. 10.8 rebounds, 8.3 assists, shooting 56% from the field, almost 40% from 3. Played all 72 games, didn't miss a single game. Dude, he's been awesome and deserves this.
He's been the best player in the league this season. Simply put, no ifs or ands or buts about it. He's going to win the MVP for that exact reason. You talked about it. 72 games. He played all his games. The Denver Nuggets needed him to play every single game because of the fact that their whole offense functions around him. And that's very impressive. As I talked about on numerous occasions, he's already the best passing center of all time, honestly. His ability to run the offense from the center position is absolutely insane. And the fact that the whole offense revolves around him and his passing and his scoring is absolutely great. And then you factor in what he's been able to improve on the defensive end, where he's not as big of a liability anymore. We've already talked about Nicole Yokocho a lot, so, we don't need to rehash about him, but he's been the best player in the league hands down this season and definitely deserves to round out our All-NBA first team.
Yeah, so that was the All-NBA first team. Moving us into the All-NBA second team. Now, this is where a lot of debates are obviously going to be started off, but the first guard position, we're going to obviously give it to Damian Lillard of the Portland Trailblazers. There's no denying that Lillard is, again, he's my favorite point guard in the league right now. Again, just based on the way how he plays, his demeanor, the fact that there's no quit in Damian Lillard, man. He's going to carry his team no matter what. 28 points a game, 4 rebounds, 7.5 assists, 45% from the field, almost 40% from three. He does it all, man. Damian Lillard just is a fantastic player overall. Deserves to be on this list.
Yeah, man. As we talked about, he has no quit. He is the Portland Trailblazers. And then just his energy and his compete level on the court is what drives him. And what makes him so successful. He's one of the few players in the league, along with Trae Young and Steph Curry, that can pull up for those 35-foot bombs and make them on a consistent basis without them being bad shots. But yeah, I almost said Trae Young. Damian Lillard has been great. Damian Lillard has been great for the Portland Trailblazers. And he's just been that for his whole career, and he's going to continue to be that, hopefully, moving forward as well. The next guard we have on this list for the All-NBA second team is Chris Paul. Now, Chris Paul has led the Phoenix Suns on a massive turnaround, as he did with the OKC Thunder last year as well. He's averaging 16.4 points a game, 8.9 assists, shooting 49.9% from the field, 39.5% from three, and averaging 1.4 steals a game. Now, Chris Paul, he's called the point guard for a reason. What he's done for the Phoenix Suns is immeasurable. It can't even be talked about. And his ability to run the offense as the best pure point guard in the NBA to date, as he has been, I think, for the past decade, I would say. Just his ability to run an offense, just to run a team overall on both ends of the court, I think is what sets him apart. Side note, for all the people that are saying Chris Paul deserves an MVP nod or deserves an MVP mention, the funny thing is, if I remember a couple years ago in 2018, Kyle Lowry was averaging the exact same stats and people were calling him a bum. Make it make sense, please. If Kyle Lowry was averaging the same stats as Chris Paul and, he doesn't even deserve to be on all NBA team, make it make sense. How does Chris Paul deserve an MVP, some MVP hype? Not that I'm discrediting the MVP hype of Chris Paul. I'm all for it. But, Kyle Lowry to be disrespected in the way he has over his whole Toronto Raptors career, I think is borderline criminal.
And guess what? Kyle Lowry has won more rings than Chris Paul. That's just factual. Kyle Lowry has played in more conference finals than Chris Paul. That's just factual information at this point in time. But again, we're not talking about Kyle Lowry, although again, greatest Raptor of all time.
Facts.
Absolutely. But again, Chris Paul has definitely just transformed the Phoenix Suns, like he did for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Chris Paul is a bona fide winner. He's going to come in and he's going to lead any team that he's on. And he's done it well. I mean, this Phoenix team, we didn't expect much of. We didn't think, our prediction for the Phoenix Suns was that they weren't going to make the playoffs. They're barely going to make the playoffs this season. Bro, they made the second seed in the Western Conference, bro. It's incredible what he's been able to do. He's had a great season, man. And although people are going to have some arguments as far as who else they're going to want to put in for this spot, but man, there's not really many players better than Chris Paul. So yeah, Chris Paul definitely gets the second guard spot, which brings us to our first forward spot. And this is a funny one. So obviously we all know Paul George, has a reputation at this point, being way off P, pandemic P, I'm hit the backboard P, everything's fine P, whatever nickname you want to go by him. We've found him a lot on the show for obviously his playoff performances, but there's no denying that this past regular season has been one of Paul George's best seasons overall. Average about 23 points a game, 6 rebounds, 5 assists, 46% from the field, 41% from three. He's been great, man. He's been great. He's been what we expected Paul George to be. And again, he took the criticism to heart that he got last season. He really reshaped his game, came back more focused, in better shape, and really just stepped up his game overall. Now again, has that translated to the playoffs? Still yet to be seen, considering what the Clippers are. But there's no denying Paul George had a fantastic season. Definitely deserves to be on the All-NBA second team. Yeah,
man, this is why I called it. I think that I said that Paul George would have a resurgent season because of the fact that he came into the season more motivated than ever, more hungry than ever, more focused than ever. He's been there since day one from the beginning of the season. And he's just if you look at the eye test, I would say especially the mentality in him seems a lot different. He doesn't bend at all. He doesn't go one way or the other. He's been very stabilizing on the court, similar to Kawhi Leonard for the Clippers this season, and he's been a big reason why the Clippers have been being so great. And I think, especially, he talked about it with Ty Lue utilizing him more like Paul George wants to be utilized, rather than Doc Rivers utilizing him like Ray Allen. I think that's translated into Paul George's success, especially being one of the top 5 best ISO players in the league this season. So Paul George has definitely been great. The second forward for the All-NBA second team that we're going to have is LeBron James. Now, LeBron James might have been All-NBA first team player this season. Unfortunately, injuries happened, and injuries just killed the Lakers season. He averaged 25 points a game, 7.7 rebounds, 7.8 assists, shooting 51.3% from the field and 36.5% from the three-point line. Now, LeBron James, again, it's LeBron James. I don't have to say anything more than that. It's LeBron James.
Yeah, there's not really anything else we can say. LeBron James, man. Again, if he didn't get injured, he would have been All-NBA first team. That's just kind of what we have to say about LeBron. But so yeah, LeBron definitely gets a second forward spot on the All-NBA second team, which brings us to the center position. And again, he was an MVP candidate this season. Definitely had a resurgent season. Our pick for All-NBA second team, the center spot, is going to go to Joel Embiid. Embiid's had a fantastic year, man. He's averaging 28.5 points a game, 10.6 rebounds, almost 3 assists, 51% from the field, 38% from 3. And Embiid has just been that dominant monster that we all knew he could be. This season, again, he was healthy, he was in shape. He finally showed that he's able to maintain himself for most of the regular season. Now, again, the injury still came back to bite him this season, and now even in the playoffs. But there's no denying, when healthy, he's one of the best bigs in basketball.
Yeah, man, he was probably a top 3 player this season for a reason. I think just the difference in him this season, especially, is just being his willingness and his demeanor to dominate. I think that's the biggest thing you can just see from the eye test. Because the stats aren't much different, the impact isn't much different, but there's a real different feel about him and his game this season, and especially off the disappointment of last year's playoffs. I think he came into the season, as you said, wanting to dominate, wanting to grab that MVP, wanting to be the best player in basketball this season, and it's translated to his success on the court. So Joel Embiid definitely deserves to be the last player on our second team.
Yeah, so that was the All-NBA second team, which finally brings us into the All-NBA third team. Now, this is obviously, a lot of people are going to have some debates on this one, but again, this is who we believe should be on the All-NBA third team. So again, if you disagree, well, keep it to yourself. I don't know. or go rage on the internet. I don't know. But first guard position is going to go over to Kyrie Irving of the Brooklyn Nets. Now, obviously, I've had my criticism of Kyrie Irving in the past, and still do have my criticisms, but there's no denying he's had a pretty good season this year. 27 points a game, 4.8 rebounds, 6 assists, 50% from the field, 40% from 3, and 92% from the free throw line. The guy put up a 50-40-90 season this year, and he was pretty great, man. Kyrie Irving, again, although he's been on a Brooklyn team that's pretty much stacked, Kyrie has been great. I mean, we all knew Kyrie in a secondary or third role on a championship team is very good. It's a very good player. We saw that in Cleveland. And now that we're seeing it again in Brooklyn, makes Brooklyn even more unstoppable, which makes it even more frustrating when Brooklyn needed all that talent. When you already had KD and Kyrie, you went out and got Harden too. I don't know, but Kyrie had a pretty good year.
Yeah, Kyrie had a 50-40-90 season. I think this is legitimately the best I've ever seen Kyrie. I've watched his whole career. I would say this is probably the best I've ever seen him. He looks to be the best, shape of his life. He's talked about it, him changing his diet and whatnot. But yeah, he just seems like a different player on the court this season. Even defensively, where, we've talked a lot, everyone always talks about how bad his defense is. From what I've seen this season too, he's being focused a lot more on the defensive end. He's put a lot more effort on the defensive end, especially this season on offense, where he doesn't have to focus on any playmaking duties because he's being the de facto shooting guard on this team. James Harden has become the point guard for this team and, being the distributor while Kyrie can do what he does best in terms of his scoring. So Kyrie now with a bona fide playmaker with James Harden and another secondary scorer in Kevin Durant has been best, I think, of his career, especially you can see that in the percentages. The next guard we have on the All-NBA third team is Bradley Beal. Now, Bradley Beal, obviously his team did not do that great, but Bradley Beal was one of the high scorers in the league. I think he was second in scoring this season at 31.3 points a game, shooting 48.5% of field, 35% from three. Now, Bradley Beal, again, you know, like you can talk about his team record and whatnot, but there's no denying this guy can score from everywhere on the court. He's one of the best scorers in the league. And he single-handedly had to carry this Washington Wizards team at times. You know, there's those famous stats of him being the player to get the most, 40-point games and lose the most times or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You know, way more than like the next person, whoever it was. So Bradley Beal, I think, you know, even though his team, his franchise sucks, Bradley Beal put him on a winning team. Oh my God, bro, that would be insane.
Dude, I'm telling you, come to Toronto, Bradley. You'll win a lot more here, and your stats will not go unnoticed.
And a lot more people will actually love you. So.
And respect you. But again, that's a conversation for another day. But again, Bradley Beal, we've talked about him a lot, man. He's a very good player. Again, I know Zeeshan is very critical of his defense, but I think, again, when he's engaged, I think when he can be a very good defensive player, but again, he has to carry such a huge offensive load for Washington that I don't think he really cares about the defensive end at this point.
Well, Washington itself doesn't care about
defense. Washington doesn't even care about defense. So Bradley Beal has been fantastic, and he definitely deserves to be on an All-NBA team this season. Which brings us to the first forward spot for the All-NBA third team. And man, we went back and forth on this one, but I was very adamant, and I think, deservedly so, I was very adamant that Jason Tatum should be on the All-NBA third team. Now, Jason Tatum has had a very good year, and again, I know he plays with the Celtics, but man, what a player, man. Averaging 26 points a game, 7 rebounds, 4 assists per game, shooting 46% from the field, 39% from three. He's been really, really good, man. That mixed up with didn't he have like a 50-point game or something? It was 60. The guy dropped 60.
Yeah.
The guy dropped 60 and he dropped 50 in the playoffs. Like, dude, Jason Tatum he's great, man. And not to mention he's a very good defender as well. Dude, he does it on both ends of the floor, man. Like, how did Philly lose out on him? I have no idea.
Danny Ainge finesse.
That's one of Danny Ainge's biggest finesses ever, man. But yeah, he's just been so great this season. I know this hasn't been a good season for the Boston Celtics overall, but he's one of the best players in the league. And even in the postseason, he's showing you how good he actually is. So it's in his 4th year in the league.
I think that's my point too, right? Jason Tatum, the thing you love about him, if you're a Celtics fan, is that you get the most out of him when the Celtics most need it, right? You're talking about put up a 50 game in the postseason. He put up a 50 game in the play-in tournament. He put up a 40-point game last game, I think it was, against Brooklyn. So Jason Tatum shows up when it's needed for the Boston Celtics. You know, he's already had multiple game winners this season and then in his whole career as well. So Jason Tatum, I think, definitely deserves to be on this list. I think there was a lot of, contested players who definitely deserve to be on the list. But I think Jason Tatum, for us, I think is solidified on this list. The next forward spot, and this is where we have a difference of opinion, I would say, or kind of like, just to get two guys, kind of cheat our way with two guys in that spot. But my forward pick for, the second forward of the All-NBA 13 would be Julius Randle from the New York Knicks. Now, Julius Randle, we talked about him in a couple episodes ago on the NBA Award show, NBA Award predictions. He's averaging 24.1 points a game, 10.2 rebounds, 6 assists, shooting 45.6% from the field, and shooting 41.1% from three. Now, Julius Randle, I think the main point about him is that, you always saw this offensive creation from him, especially the playmaking, and then his mid-range and low-post scoring. But the biggest thing for him this season was his improvement in his jumper. And that just opened up the game for him so much. His ability to shoot legitimately 40+% from outside has enabled him to get to that 24-point mark. And not to mention on the defensive end of the ball, Tom Thibodeau's gotten the most out of Julius Randle, where obviously he's been a negative for pretty much his whole career on that side of the ball. But now with Tibbs there, he's been able to be actually, at least statistically, one of the best defenders in the league. So shout out Julius Randle for having the season that he did. Obviously, the playoffs have been a different story, and the playoffs are a different animal. But yeah, in terms of regular season-wise, Julius Randle is definitely deserving to be on this list.
Yeah, I mean, I think Julius Randle had a pretty good season. But again,
you're just a Knicks hater.
Listen, it's not hate, it's real. And again, thank you, Atlanta. We on board. I'm the biggest Hawks fan right now. But again, I think in terms of who would I put on an All-NBA team, I think I'd put Jimmy Butler instead of Julius Randle, because I think of Jimmy Butler's impact for the Miami Heat, I think is greater, in my opinion. I think again, Jimmy Butler, although he's not even scoring as much anymore, even though we know he's capable of doing it, the fact that he brings it on the defensive end, he's rebounding, he's playmaking, he's basically being the de facto leader of the Miami Heat this season. It's just like, I know the Heat got swept this season, but Jimmy Butler is just one of those players that, you know, is so impactful. When he's off the floor, the Heat are just, they can't do anything. We saw it at the beginning of the year. They were really bad without Jimmy Butler on the court. So, for that reason alone, I think Jimmy definitely deserves his recognition. I think he definitely deserves to be on the All-NBA team. And I think if he played a few more games, I think a lot more people would be on board of bringing Jimmy Butler in on the All-NBA third team. So, yeah, I personally think of Jimmy Butler, again, no hate to Julian Randle. He's had a great season, most improved player and all. But, man, I think it should be Jimmy Butler, personally.
Yeah, man, Jimmy Butler, I think you touched upon him, right? Like, the difference in the Miami Heat from when he was not there due to COVID and then when he came back was night and day. Unfortunately, Bam Adebayo is just not that guy, at least not at this stage of his career, right? And Jimmy Butler has to be that guy for the Miami Heat in order for them to win. Obviously, he's going to get made fun of a lot, and people are going to have not great perception of him because of the postseason that he had. Rightfully so, he did have a terrible, terrible postseason. But Jimmy Butler, in terms of the regular season, was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah. So again, we have a little bit of a debate on that one, but again, either one of those players would definitely deserves to be up there on the All-NBA third team. Which brings us finally to the center position of the All-NBA third team. We're going to actually give it to Rudy Gobert. Obviously, Gobert has been fantastic. You know, his numbers may not be the best, but again, this is a guy who is an anchor on the best defense in the NBA right now. 14 points a game, 13.5 rebounds. He really improved his offensive game in terms of, you know, being a better presence offensively, grabbing more rebounds, you know, gaining more possessions for, you know, Utah. But in terms of his overall effectiveness as a center, he is a top 5 center in the NBA.
Yeah, man. Especially, like, we know he is defensively. He's going to win. Well, he should win the DPOY award this year again. But offensively is, I think, where the difference was this season. His ability to be more assertive this year on the offensive side of the ball. We're talking about the Utah Jazz, who have a top 3 offensive league. A lot of that has to do with Rudy Gobert and his gravity on pick and rolls, on dives, on post-ups, in front of the rim, on lob threats. 90% of those 3-point shots that Utah takes and makes at the highest clip in the league are as a direct result of Rudy Gobert and his gravity and his play. Not to mention he's become a better passer from the, for example, pick and roll or from the low post this season. So Rudy Gobert, though his defensive abilities have been talked about a lot, and rightfully so, his offense, I think, is what has separated him, at least in this year of his career.
Yeah. So those were our All-NBA teams. Definitely let us know what you guys think. Do you agree or disagree? Let us know what you guys think in the comment section on YouTube or social media.